Together, growing in faith, changing communities.
Together, growing in faith, changing communities. My dear brothers and sisters, I'd like us to reflect briefly on Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 to 15. There are a few things that I'd like us to look into. In those days, Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock into the west side of the wilderness, and he came to the mountain of God, Horeb, and the angel of the Lord appeared to him. There are few things that I'd like us to look into. The first one, Moses was looking after the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He took the flock into the wilderness and he approached Horeb, the mountain of God, where the angel of God appeared. Those 6 points I would like us to look into. If you look at this reading, Exodus chapter 3, this is where God reveals himself. And so there are 2 positions that one can make. The first one could be focusing on God. The God who reveals himself, the God who calls himself YHWH, the so-called Yahweh Jehovah, the God of our ancestors. Then one can run with a theme and look at its richness. But I'd like us today to look at a different angle. God is not the object, but rather Moses is the object of this reflection. It is God who reveals himself to Moses. Who is Moses? That is my first point. Who is Moses? Moses is a boy of a Hebrew parent who is born of a Hebrew mother of a slave girl and who lives in the house of Pharaoh not as a slave but rather as a prince. That is who Moses is. If you want to go and you want to say he has 2 personalities. He knows poverty from his mother, but he has never really experienced it because from the younger days he was adopted by Pharaoh's daughter and he lived in the palace of Pharaoh and he was fed and he was raised like a prince. And so he has these 2 personalities. He knows he is a Hebrew and yet he lives like an Egyptian. He knows the Hebrews are hated and yet his mother is a Hebrew. Do you know who you are? Do you know issues surrounding your own birth? Do you know who gave birth to you? I'm not asking, do you know this woman gave birth to you? Of course you know that. But do you know who that woman is? Do you know what happened? Do you know the things that influence you now, the things that affect you now, the things that you react to them genetically because you got them from your mother? You did not ask for them. There are some people, when they are not well, when they are sick, the doctors will say, let us study their genetics. Let us understand your family history. Let us try and see why are the things like this. Do you have a time to sit down with your mom and your dad? You ask them important questions because soon they will die. No one will answer you. So the first thing for me, it is this Moses who lives in a palace and who sees the hatred towards his own people, and there's nothing he can do about it. The second aspect of looking at Moses, where is he at the moment? He had to run away from Egypt. Why? Because he grew up. He saw the molestation of his people. He saw the poverty of his people. He saw the ills. He saw the evil that were being done. And he says, I cannot stand this anymore. Why do some people leave us? Why some of our children cannot stay at home? Why is it difficult for some people to say, I want to be with you? Because some of them have grown up, some of them have grown apart. They've reached a stage, I can't take this anymore. They've reached a stage, this is not me. This is not my life. This is not what I want for my babies. This is not what I want for my future. And so Moses kills an Egyptian. The Hebrews see him and they say, we're going to go and tell Pharaoh that you've killed one of his own. And Moses leaves home as a refugee. How many refugees do we have in this church? Not talking about foreign nationals, I'm talking about our own South Africans who've become refugees. Can't stay at home. For whatever reason. How many people are at home and yet not at home? Can't wait for them to leave. Can't wait for them to die. I can't wait to grow old and go out of this house. I just cannot wait to be strong enough to say, done, I'm gone. So you find Moses a refugee. He runs into his mother's house and he meets Jethro, who will become his father-in-law. How many people don't have a house, don't have a home? They had to go and live in their father's house, in their father-in-law's house. I would move in with my wife and we'll go back and live in her home. Many people don't have a home. They've been renting all their lives and they will die renting. Not that they don't work, they work. Financially, they work, but they don't have the means in doing it. Here is a prince who lives now as a refugee. Here is Moses who clapped his hands and the servants came running to him. They fed him, they bathed him, they clothed him, they did everything for him. Now he has to go out and look after the flock. He is a nobody. My dear brothers and sisters, how many of us have become a nobody? You used to be powerful, not anymore. You used to be relevant, not anymore. You used to be that thing, not anymore. You used to be the source of reference, not anymore. Time is cruel. People don't care. People forget. And so I look at this man who's become a shepherd and who goes into the field, days without bathing, days without food, and he has to look after the flock so that he is fed. Nobody has ever told us, and it would be a beautiful study to look at the psychological impact in the life of Moses. Was he depressed? Was he sad? Was he anxious? Was he frustrated? Was he missing his mother? Nobody tells us. And God comes to him right at that moment. When he was at his lowest, God came. And he revealed himself to him. How are you feeling? What's going on in your life? What's happening? And there is God coming in. And he reveals himself to us. Now what I'm fascinated with, it is Moses who is a Hebrew living with Pharaoh. It is Moses who is now a shepherd in the wilderness. It is Moses in front of this great mountain of Horeb. And my argument is quite simple. Whatever you've been through has not been wasted, but the Lord is preparing you for the next phase of your life. Why? Because Moses, the Hebrew boy, had to learn how to speak the Egyptian language, how to understand the culture of Pharaoh. Moses needed to learn how to be a shepherd. He needed to learn how to be in the wilderness because for 40 years he needs to know how to lead the people in the wilderness. You cannot give people what you don't have. Whatever experiences you've been through, if God has allowed them, he is preparing you for the next phase of your life. Moses will not have known how to lead in the wilderness if he stayed with Pharaoh for all these years. Where is God leading you? And the Virgin Mother of God continue to be with us, to protect, to bless, and to guide. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.